I've tried many ways to recycle waste 3D prints, but they don't always work out. Today, we take a look at my tumultuous journey with the Protocycler Plus. Gather round, valued viewers, for a sorry tale that ends in the abandonment of a long-term plan. As always on this channel, I'm looking to be as transparent as possible, so join me for the peaks and troughs of my experience. The story of this video starts in January 2022, when Zoltan, a representative of ReDeTec, reached out to me about their Protocycler Plus, a filament extruder that could work with recycled materials, which appealed to me immediately. Over the years, I've made a lot of videos on recycling. Things like building a precious plastic shredder to try and reclaim and repurpose waste 3D prints, trying to adapt an injection molder made for fishing lures to use this waste plastic, and that was a complete disaster, trust me. And probably the only endeavour that's been successful, using a cheap heat transfer press to melt the waste back into sheets that could then be laser cut. But the holy grail was always recycling my prints back into new filament. Therefore, I wanted to proceed. Negotiations took place and I received free postage and a 25% discount. At the time, the Plus was a new product and I would be the first person in the world to have one. Since then, ReDeTec have iterated and the latest version is the Protocycler V3 and it comes in at $11,000 US. Or if you get the equivalent of my model without the grinder, you can save $2,000. Very expensive, but when I bought mine, there was a lot of features that stood out to me. A big selling point for me with this machine is that everything's automated. The filament is extruded, goes through a cooler, and then these rollers pull it through, varying their speed to get the width just right. 2 optical sensors are used to monitor everything and make adjustments. Basically, a closed-loop, smart, automatic system that could handle itself. Another thing I really like about this machine is how compact it is. It's 540 wide, 270 tall, and 380mm deep, which means it's barely bigger than the average 3D printer. I was keen, so I got them to agree to my review policy and paid the invoice, and was asked if I minded waiting for the machine to have a little more development to bring it to the latest spec. I agreed, and between this and some other minor delays, this took us to March when it was finally sent. There was one more delay with shipping, but I did have the unit by mid-April. It came with the usual tools, although the instructions were for the previous model so they're useless to me, and the only assembly required is for the filament spooler mechanism. The mounting bracket is already on the machine, we just have to pull it out from underneath. And then there's about 3 or 4 simple instructions, threading things together, inserting a belt, installing sleeves and pins to keep everything aligned, before some printed parts are installed which clamp down on the empty filament spool. It can take spools of variable width as you input the settings into the machine. The spooler component is actually closed loop, using this magnetic switch to keep track of the RPM. From unboxing to ready, we're talking around 30 to 60 minutes. So far, so good. It was time to make some filament. Now, I don't think it's fair to try and make recycled filament on my first use of the machine, so instead I used some virgin PLA pellets and some blue colorant beads that came with the machine, and you have to add the colorant because natural or clear filament won't trigger those optical sensors. Time to make my first roll, so I measured the internal width of the empty spool and then used the LCD menu to input this into the machine, and it was actually correct already. The next part of the setup is to add the virgin pellets as well as the colorant into the top. And then we go to the extrude menu on the display, select automatic, and in my case, PLA with the default high flow nozzle. Over around 5 to 10 minutes, the heater will then come up to temperature and stabilize, at which time we'll start to notice some filament extruding from the nozzle, which is very fat. The machine will beep when everything is ready, and then we can grab some tweezers, pull this lump of filament, and place it in between the metal guides and onto the puller wheel before rotating the upper wheel into place and retaining it with the little spring. For now, we guide the filament output out the front of the machine. For the next 5 minutes or so, the machine is using the optical sensors to monitor the width and try and stabilize the output. Once the machine thinks it has done this, it beeps and the next phase begins, where you put the filament onto the empty spool. Now, for the first time, I made an absolute mess of this. I couldn't line up the cutters with the filament as it was moving. I finally got it through, then fed it to the top instead of the bottom, and then had some ham-fisted attempts at getting it onto the spool, during which I introduced some loops that started to go around the spool, so I tried to cut it again, tried to redo it, and ultimately wasn't able to get the job done within the 2-minute safety timer window. Once that kicked in, everything went into automatic cooldown. I was trying to bring the filament through and thread it into this hole, which seems really easy on paper, but when you realize that the spool is spinning this fast, hopefully you can understand it's not so straightforward. So I started the process again, this time with a new plan, which was to simply masking tape the start of the filament onto the inside of the spool. This still didn't go quite as smoothly as I wanted, but ultimately it was successful and I was able to begin the process. Still not the neatest result, but surely I'll only get better from here. I was able to hit the confirm button, and from here we get a readout of the temperature, an indication of what the machine thinks the output diameter is, and we can admire the spooler in action, which moves very slowly from side to side to try and wind the filament as neatly as possible. 35 minutes in, I had an extruded length of 43 meters, and the spool was starting to look pretty healthy, which was quite satisfying. I let the machine run until the hopper ran empty, which is detected by the machine, and it automatically shuts everything down. Cut off the excess filament, and I've got my very first homemade roll. This is natural or clear PLA with some blue colorant to make a nice sky blue. It looks good, but how's the accuracy? Well, I discovered it was actually quite consistent, but consistently undersized from the 1.75 millimeters it should have been. So most measurements were around 1.61, 1.62 millimeters, but clearly what we're aiming for is 1.75. When slicing, I can simply input this different filament diameter and it should account for everything, but instead I designed a pelletizer to chip this filament back into smaller chunks and to try and make some new filament. And now we take a huge jump forward in the timeline, as after I made that first spool, I moved house. And trust me, when you've got this much stuff, it takes a long time to get everything in place and design solutions to get all of my bits and pieces in place. My whole setup was moved to a dedicated space, and that needed things like 45-degree adapters to create enough clearance for the shredder in the limited space. And the space is small, being a converted walk-in wardrobe, but I think it looks quite snug and everything has its position. After a 1.5 year delay, I was finally ready to continue with my journey. But if you recall, the filament was undersized, so therefore I needed some calibration. And this was confirmed by Zoltan back in May 22, after I had just made the first spool. The manual I was given was incomplete, but not the section on light guide tuning, so I decided to follow step by step from the manual to try and dial it in. The calibration uses drill bits of a known diameter, and they don't need to match the filament exactly, as long as you know what their diameter is and you can tune the software to read the same thing, then you'll be good. As the manual explains, you connect the PC software directly via USB, start manual extrusion mode, and then read the two outputs of the light sensors. From there, you make physical adjustments on the machine until the reading in the software matches what's expected. I fired the machine up and then started manually extruding. As for the drill bits acting as dowels, the left-hand one is simply clamped in between these squishy wheels that won't turn unless you ask them to, and that's because of manual mode, whereas automatic, everything happens by itself. I'm not sure how you're meant to hold the dowel on the right-hand side, but I designed and 3D printed a little jig that included a little adjustment, and I made sure to align it perfectly with the center of the output nozzle. From here, I monitored the output in the software and made fine adjustments to the LED mounts until everything was where it needed to be. For instance, a red diameter of 196 down in the lower right, matching what I measured with the digital calipers on the drill bit. This time, fully calibrated, good results should have been forthcoming. I'm not gonna lie, it did take a while to pelletize 40 odd meters of made PLA. And despite my pelletizer outputting small uniform sized pieces, I went through about a dozen phases of sifting to remove any larger material that might clog the machine. I also took the time to dry the plastic in a dehydrator for best results. Optimistic, I started up the machine and put it in the same automatic PLA mode as last time. And it should hardly be a surprise that after a 1.5 years I hadn't improved at all with my technique. But of greater concern was the filament output. It seemed to be quite hot and oozing out the machine far too fast and sloppy to capture with the tweezers. I wrestled with this for what seemed to be forever. I would try and pull it through, but by the time I got it in the wheels, a great big chunk had purged itself out the front and fallen down into the cavity, causing me to have to restart the whole process. Eventually, the filament coming out of the large nozzle seemed to settle down, and I was able to direct this filament through the guide wheels. I figured that maybe there was still some filament left over from a 1.5 years ago that was quite moist, that had now extruded through, so we were up to the fresher, dried PLA pellets that I had prepared recently. But something still wasn't right, because after 30 minutes of running through in this state, the output never stabilized, and the manual says this should only take 3 to 5 minutes. I cancelled the process, let the machine cool, and then started another attempt, which frustratingly turned out exactly the same. The filament oozed out way too fast, and there was just no way to keep up with it and guide it into the puller wheels faster than it was extruding. This was so incredibly frustrating because every time I thought I might have it, a big thick chunk would come out and ruin the whole process. So, thinking something must be wrong, I cancelled the extrusion and began the cool down process. But of course you can't relax at this stage because the plastic continues to come out of the nozzle, otherwise it would cook inside and jam everything up. But this also didn't work because after 45 minutes it refused to cool down as it should. And trust me, that's a long time standing there trying to keep the filament from going where it shouldn't, so I'm sure you can understand that I ended up just cutting the power. In case you're not understanding just how frustrating this failed attempt was, here's a camera shot of the output that was wasted, and I want you to picture me wrestling with it the whole time. Now, as frustrating as this was, I should have had a safety net. Zoltan had previously told me that all customers could receive a free support call if necessary. With that, surely this would be fixable. I recontacted Zoltan to resurrect the thread, but the first dagger was when the address was not found. I guess he didn't work there anymore. I had already been through the support material like the FAQ on the website, so the next step was to contact tech support via email. I sent them a detailed email explaining when I had purchased the machine, how I had been dealing with Zoltan, the results of the first spool and calibration, and then this passage detailing exactly what had gone wrong in the latest attempt. And the days started to tick by without a response. And then finally, a bit over 2 weeks later, I received this reply. Apparently my email had been caught in a spam filter, but they were now ready to help and they asked for some details and maybe some data logging. I had spent a lot of time and money on this, so I was keen to get it going. And that meant providing as much information as possible. I fired up the machine, connected the laptop, ready to log some data. I started the process and then the data logger when instructed. At first it looked like everything was going to work. The filament started coming out slowly. I managed to get it in between the roller drive and it remained suspended in mid-air enough to be read by the two sensors. But then moments later, the same problem reared its ugly head. The filament started exiting the nozzle way too fast and falling down into the cavity below. I went to intervene with the tweezers, but then realized the speed of extrusion was only increasing. And since I was data logging and filming, I would have sufficient material to send to ReDeTec to receive support. So I uploaded the clip you were just watching and attached the long log that they had requested, and within 2 days had replied to them, answering all of their questions, and a detailed written summary of the problems I was encountering. And then crickets. Nothing for days, then weeks, and as I was approaching a month, I sent them one more follow-up email, to which they never replied, even now, more than a year later. And I'm sure you'll agree, that is very, very poor. Therefore, despite early promise, I'm abandoning the idea of turning my waste prints back into new PLA filament. The documentation talks about a manual mode where you can control many parameters, and I'm sure if I had the expertise to tweak all of that, I could probably overcome these issues. But it looks highly complex, so I would really need some support to achieve that. And that promised support, unfortunately, has not been forthcoming. Because of that, I don't even know if the machine is broken or not. There's probably no point pushing forward unless I'm confident that everything is working and it's possible to get good results. Based on my experience, and having paid over $2,250 for this, there is no way I could recommend it. And I haven't tested the latest V3, but geez, it wouldn't be absolutely flawless to justify the new price of $9,000 US. And even if I wanted to try and save some money by upgrading my Plus to a V3, that's still going to cost me way more than I paid for the original machine in the first place. And I kind of feel like the amount of upgrades that were needed to get to the latest spec may be indicative of the shortcomings in the machine I originally purchased. Clearly I'm not happy, but I would still like to acknowledge Zoltan, who was always polite and professional, as was the CEO Denon, who I spoke to in the early stages. But an organization is only as strong as its weakest link, and being ghosted by support after providing exactly what they requested is simply unacceptable. However, the next chapter, and what I hope is a silver lining, is inside this box. You might have previously seen a series of videos on the YouTube channel Greenboy3D, where he developed a pellet extruder to be made for low cost, but strong performance, reliability, and serviceability. Well, some time ago, I ordered one of the pellet extruder kits, which means I can take my ground up 3D prints, mix them with virgin pellets, and hopefully print them directly without having to make a spool in between. If it works out, this will actually be more efficient and a lot cheaper than what I spent on this. But my problem always stays the same. Too many projects, not enough time. So I'm not sure when I'll get to it, but hopefully at some stage I will. Anyway, that's my story. Let me know down in the comment section what you think about my experience. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy 3D printing. G'day, it's Michael again. If you liked the video, then please click like. If you want to see more content like this in future, click subscribe and make sure you click on the bell to receive every notification. If you really want to support the channel and see exclusive content, become a patron. Visit my Patreon page. See you next time.